Hey guys, Spooky Little Fox here. Alright, so on my previous video I asked you guys what I should make next, and I got so many comments asking that I make Hornet's Bellhome from HOIII Silksong, so that's what I'll be making in this video. First I needed something dome-shaped for the top of the bell, and this to-go pho bowl was the perfect size for it. I need to cut a bit off of it though, so I got rid of the outer ridge and cut the bowl nearly in half, not completely because we need to allow some room for the inside of the bell. To add some structure to the bottom of the bell, I used the lid for the bowl and cut it the same as the bowl. Then I filled it with some foam board that I cut to shape. Now for the sides of the bell, I used more foam board and glued it in like this. But as you can see here, the sides are kind of bowing outwards. So let's fix that by gluing some chopsticks to the sides. I used more foam board to build the bottom of the bell, as well as a random lid for this ball thing in the bell. I don't know what it's called. Hold on, let me look it up. Let me just scroll past this AI garbage. So it's called a clapper or a clapper ball. So I made the clapper ball out of a lid and some foam board that I sanded down. And bada bing bada boom, we got a clapper ball. Now onto the porch. I crafted it out of foam board that I cut into this shape, and to create a similar shape to the one in game, I layered it with more pieces of foam board. I hot glued them all together. Huge shout out to Studson Studio for hot gluing the foam board trick. I don't know, maybe I'm just dumb, but I had no idea you just have to switch your glue gun to low so it doesn't melt everything. This was such a game changer, and it makes this process so much quicker. Now for the fancy door. First, I made a stencil with paper. I only drew half of it, I'll show you why in a sec. I then etched the shape onto some foam board, and to make sure it was symmetrical, I just flipped the stencil over and did the same on the other side. I drew the details on to the best of my ability. I think it looks good enough. Then using an X-Acto knife I cut it out and used it to cut shallow grooves into the door details I added. This makes it easier to sculpt it into the shape I want. Then to round out some of those details, I used a sculpting tool, going over the grooves I cut. Here you can see the difference it made. Alright, let's just pop that on and get to work on the top of the bell. As you can see, it's super detailed, so I got a lot of work ahead of me. So I'm not really a very mathy person, so I ended up cutting a strip of foam board into this shape. That way I can wrap it around the bowl and lay each of the pieces down one by one like this. I kinda just cut the excess off if the pieces weren't going to lay right. It was tedious, but it ended up working out just fine. See, who needs math, right? I'm joking. No, seriously, it probably would have helped a lot here, but I don't even know where to begin with figuring it out. Okay, with the main shape done, I can work on the details. Starting with this piece, since it connects to the top, and it'll act as a marker for where to start drawing on the details. And using the same technique as the door, I sculpted on all of the swirls and such, doing my best to get it right. It's probably not 100% accurate, but whatever, it still looks good. For the tippy top of the bell, I decided to use some polymer clay. Also, my goal is to be able to hang the Bellhome up, so I reinforced it with this metal ring. I inserted it into the clay by cutting a piece in half like this, wrapping it around the ring, and smoothing it out with a rolling pin and a silicone brush. Oh yeah, if you dip these tools in rubbing alcohol, it helps them glide over the clay better, making it a whole lot easier to add small details. I added the ring to the top and smoothed everything else out using that same technique. See, look how smooth that turned out. Alright, now to add the details. To secure it onto the bell, I used some screws that I screwed through the foam board in the bowl. I wanted to make sure it was nice and reinforced. That way when I hang it up, it won't fall and break. I put E6000 glue on top of each of the screws and hot glue everywhere else. Yes, I know there are probably better ways to do this, but hey, I never said I was a professional. Now I'll just be adding a bit more detail before I go ahead and paint this thing. Okay, now that that's all done, we're on to painting. Starting with a base coat of matte black paint. I made sure to get it into every crack and crevice. That way it adds to the illusion that I painstakingly painted every tiny detail, even the places I might miss. For the main color of the bell, I just went with the color I chose for my Bellhome, which is this red color you see here. I am aware that this red looks way too bright, but it's a bit darker when it dries. It was so exciting when I started painting the gold details, because it was all starting to come together. Honestly, I was pretty nervous about making this piece since it's so detailed. Also, I wanted to make it much bigger than my last Silksong project. Then there was the issue of what to make it out of. It took me a while to come up with the faux bowl thing. Seriously though, I'm proud of myself for that, and I'm really glad I was able to make it work. There's just something so satisfying about finding a use for a piece of plastic you've been holding on to. And it also means less waste going to landfills, even if it's just a tiny bit. It's also just fun to be able to show people that you can make art out of literally anything if you have the drive to do so. And in the times we're living in right now, when AI slop is literally everywhere you look, we need people making art now more than ever. Hold on really quick, this looks like a face. See it? There's the eyes and the mouth. Anyways, I want to inspire and encourage as many people as I'm able to make their own art. Art is so important for making our existence here on Earth more vibrant and beautiful. And dude, it's just so much fun to make art. There are endless mediums out there to work with, as well as endless amounts of tutorials. Who needs AI when you can just do it yourself, and be a million times more satisfied with the outcome, since you made it with your own two hands? Can you tell that I hate AI? Because bro, I can't stand it. One last thing to add, if you want to learn more about the damage AI is causing, Drew Gooden has a really great video on it that you should check out. Honestly, I think everyone should watch it. I'll link it in the video description. Alright, I'm done now. Oh yeah, and I actually did end up painstakingly painting the top of the bell. It took forever, but I don't regret a thing, because it turned out so good. Now for the finishing touches. Next, I'll be making the craw nest. For this, I sculpted it over a wooden ball I had. This way I can make it hollow, since this wood is fine to put in the oven. I added a bunch of texture all over it using this needle tool thingy. Then for the opening, I cut a hole in it using this piece of plastic, and smoothed it out with a silicone tool. I quickly made the little bolt thingy, and threw them both in the oven for like 10 minutes at 275 degrees. After they cooled, I was able to remove the wooden ball. I then got to painting, starting with a dark brown, and then dry brushing the top of the nest with a much lighter color. I also wanted to add detail to the inside, so I added some Spanish moss, as well as some beads and shiny things. Because the craws are basically just crows, right? And crows love shiny things. I don't know, I just thought it would be a cute detail. Besides, in-game, you're sometimes able to collect shards or rosary beads from the nest. I painted this thing gold really quick, and then popped everything onto the Bellhome. We're almost done with the exterior, I just gotta make these structures on top. For these I used wire and polymer clay. I made a bunch roughly the same shapes as the ones in game, and then added segments to them with a sculpting tool. And once I had what somewhat resembled spindly insect legs, I went ahead and painted them dark gray, and for the highlights I used a much lighter gray. I tried my best to replicate the shine in game. I don't think it looks the same, but it still looks cool, I think. I glued them all onto the bell in roughly the same places as in the game. And with that done, I can finally start working on the interior. Starting out with painting it black, of course. While the black paint dries, I can work on the floor. I guess I could have just painted it gold and been done with it, but you know me, I have to add detail to everything, so I freehanded this design onto the floor. I tried to replicate the designs I saw in game. I did a base coat of black, then went over it with gold, and to make sure the details really pop, I went in with a darker gold color. Now that the black paint is dry, I can add some of the detail to the background. I had to improvise a lot for this part because, as you can see here, it's pretty dark back there, and it's hard to see exactly what's going on. After that was done, I glued in the floor. Next, I crafted another door, nearly identical to the one on the outside of the bell. This one is just without the door frame. I painted it the same as the other door, I just forgot to record this part. I also decided to use the door to hide the battery pack for the fairy lights. I used some magnets to secure it in, that way I can turn them on and off, as well as change the batteries if need be. This little slot is where the battery pack can slide in. Here, I'll show you. It might not look fantastic, but it hides it pretty well, and that's what matters. Alright, let's make the personal spa. After searching around for a while, I found this plastic baseball that my partner bought for me a while back. Since they know I love weird pieces of plastic for my art, I'm so glad they did because it turned out to be the perfect size for the tub. I sanded it down to create some texture for the paint to hold onto, and glued a strip of foam board around it to create the lip. I added the details using a sculpting tool and X-Acto knife. Then I went ahead and added this detail using foam board and some buttons. For the base coat, I used some Mod Podge mixed with black paint. Another shout out to Studson for this trick. It's super useful if you're painting on a surface like plastic, which doesn't hold on to paint very well. Next, I carefully painted on the details. In order to give the tub this soft glow, I decided to use some fairy lights. I glued them in pretty haphazardly. The glow turned out pretty nice though. For these pipes and details on the bottom of the spa, I used some polymer clay. I glued them onto the bottom of the tub with hot glue to somewhat resemble the ones in game, although it's a little hard to see what's going on down there. I did my best though. A lot of improvising goes into trying to make a 3D piece of a 2D game. You aren't really able to see things from all perspectives, but it's cool because you can have a lot of fun with the creative freedom. I decided to add this backsplash for the spa since it looked like it needed something. I didn't really like the look of the lights, so I wanted to cover it up. My partner suggested that I use a torn up cotton ball for it. Huge thank you to them for this because I was stumped on what to do. I ended up gluing one to a disc of plastic the same diameter as the tub. I did this hoping the light would still shine through it, and it did work. It looks awesome. Since the tub's an awkward shape, it needed some support pieces to make sure it's nice and sturdy. So I cut this wedge piece out of foam board and painted it. I was just gonna glue it in as is, but that would be boring. So I decided to pretty it up using a small piece of lace as a cute little doily, as well as some bottles for it, like, you know, body wash and stuff. I don't know, whatever Hornet's self-care consists of. I used these pretty shiny beads, as well as some earring parts for the top, and a tiny bead for the cap. And she needs some candles, because who takes a relaxing bath without candles? So cute! That's so much better than some boring old support wedge. Next I'll be making the memento shelf. I sculpted all of the mementos out of polymer clay, but since they're so detailed I didn't record the process. Sorry. But here's a look at them before I chuck them into the oven. I think the conjoined heart memento is one of the most heartbreaking ones to get, being that you have to defeat the Green Prince to get it. His storyline ripped my heart out. Going into the fight, I had no idea that it was optional, nor did I know that he was going to actually die. I just have to hope that it was what he wanted, to have one last battle before being laid to rest beside his husband. I guess this way they can be together again. Anyways, here's the Craw's memento, the Paula part, the Sprint Master memento, and the Hero's memento. Why does Team Cherry love to rip our hearts out with these sad storylines? I just want these cute characters to be happy. Poor Zaza is now just mourning his master. He won't leave his side. Like, seriously, what is this? What do I even do after witnessing this? So strong, so kind, brave to the end. Let's meet back home. Come on, dude. I just wanted them to be happy, and this is what I got? Anyways, I love this game. Team Cherry knows how to write good characters. Next, I'll be making the actual shelf. I cut the shape I wanted out of foam board, then wrapped the edges in paper to make the edges smoother and easier to paint. These pieces will serve as the backing of the shelves. I of course improvised a little for this as well. I also added some detail with the sculpting tool. I made 3 of each piece, and then hot glued them all together. For the little swirly details, I went ahead and used some crafting wire that I carefully shaped into swirls using some pliers. I popped them on with some white glue and instantly regretted that decision since it takes so long to dry. Good thing I have this little cutie to distract me while it dries. She was being so sweet here. She ended up falling asleep like this. It was adorable. Once the glue dried, I painted it with the Mod Podge and paint mixture, and painted over that. I don't know if these were the actual colors in game, but again, it's too dang dark to see anything in there. I added some gold detailing to add variation. Then to add depth and shadows, I went over a few parts with a black wash. Now that that's done, we can add all the mementos. In order to secure them on, I glued wooden dowels to the backs of each one, and painted them black so they're less visible. We want things to look good from every angle. Now let's glue them all on. Alright, now that that's done, I can go ahead and pop it in place. Notice anything different on there? We'll get to that later. Let's hang this curtain up right here. Okay, now I gotta make this shelf. I went through my plastic hoard and found this. These round parts are the perfect shape and size for this. And it has the right texture, that way I don't have to add a whole lot of detail. I went ahead and cut one of them out, then cut it in half so it fits against the wall. I then glued some circular pieces of foam board to the bottom to give it a similar shape. Added a little bit of detail to the bottom. For the top, I cut another circle a little larger than the base, that way there's some overhang. I slapped some of that paint and Mod Podge mixture on, then hit it with some gold paint, as well as a darker gold for depth and to make the details pop. As for the little cloth on top, I took this piece of fabric and painted it this pinkish red color. I don't know, is it magenta? Maybe maroon? Whatever. I glued it on top of the shelf, then secured it onto the wall curtain. I don't think you usually mount shelves on curtains. I literally don't care at this point. On to the next thing. Let's make the Materium. I started by sculpting 8 of the lids for the little containers out of polymer clay. Then I painted them all gold. As for the containers themselves, I used these teeny tiny glass bottles. I took all the corks out and of course saved them for a later project. Now to make some stuff to go inside them. I of course had to make a pickled muck maggot because as gross as it is, it's iconic. As well as a vial of plasmified blood. I didn't record myself painting all of them because it was a lot. Here we have a crown fragment, poop, or at least it looks like poop, this thing, and some shards. I glued them onto this piece of plastic so it looks like they're floating. I also reused some of the extra shelves for Frey's shop here. There we go, we got a little Materium. And a rug! Wow! Hornet of course needs a desk to go with the Materium, so I built it out of polymer clay. For the little scrolls, I used a wooden dowel that I wrapped some paper around, and I used a tiny bit of white glue to secure it into place. Oops, let me clean that up a bit. I also added some little pens, as well as an inkwell off camera. You'll see in a sec. Okay, now for the gramophone. I sculpted it with some polymer clay. Sadly, I forgot to record me painting this part. But here I am painting the neck, as well as the sound horn. I really loved painting this part, it's so pretty. Whoa, what the heck? That was weird. Alright, let's put everything in place. Well, there it goes again. I'll just roll with it. Okay, seriously, this is where I realized I used E6000 glue, and I was trying to figure out how to keep it in the right place while it dried, you know, without me having to hold it the whole time. Upon looking at the back, it says allow 24 hours for curing. I ended up having my partner come over and help me figure something out, and this was our solution for this problem. I hot glued a wooden dowel like this to hold it in place. It might not be pretty, but it works. Next, I'll be making Hornet's bed. Here I'm making the base by cutting an oval out of foam board and wrapping a long strip around it. Then I went in with a sculpting tool to add detail before painting it gold, doing my best to match it up to the in-game version. I sculpted the actual mattress out of polymer clay since it's a smoother material, and I thought it would look better than if I tried to use foam board. Okay, cool, the bed's done. And of course, Hornet needs a light for her desk, so we gotta make the Lumafly lamp. I made it off camera with a plastic ring and some tissue paper for the Lumafly. That way, the light can shine through everything. Up next is the little stool for the desk. Okay, for the stool, I used a large wooden bead and glued some foam board onto it like this. As you can see, there's a little cushion or cloth draped over it, so I cut a piece of fabric like this, painted it a bit, and slapped that on top. I also wrapped some brown string around it, and boom, we got a stool for Hornet. Now I'm just gonna add a few extra details. We're almost done, guys, oh my god. Oh yeah, I made some tiny fleas to hide around the piece, so when the Glam Shots come around, keep an eye out for them. I also decided to connect this beautiful plum blossom chain to the top of the bell. That way I'll be able to hang it up. This chain is meant to hold chandeliers, so it better be sturdy. Alright, now for some glam shots. How many fleas were you able to find? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching my video. Also, thank you for 3,000 subs. All of your support means so much to me. If you would like to support me further or help me continue to create art, you can become a member of my YouTube or subscribe to my Patreon. I post lots of exclusive updates on both. Plus, new subscribers can get their names on Spooky's card here. Any support is appreciated. Even liking, subscribing, or just interacting with this video is a great help. Also, if you have any ideas on what I should make next, leave a comment down below. Alright, bye guys! See you next time!